Welcome
Hey!
to episode 84 of Just One More Topic. I am Tridrachius.
And I'm Rarbagels.
And after like 13 different takes of trying to get this thing to work, we are finally up and running. And this week, we're going to talk about MMOs.
MMOs!
And Sony selling Sony Online Entertainment. I don't know, lots of S's there. But anyway, in my professional and unprofessional opinion, I'm not much of a MMO player, but just based on what I saw over the past couple of years, it seemed like MMOs were dying.
Well, I think what we saw with MMOs is we saw the overwhelming success of World of Warcraft.
Yes.
And not only did fans see the overwhelming success of this MMO, but company success of this MMO. And they said to themselves, well, if they did it, why can't we? And then they all put MMOs into development. And then those MMOs came out, and they weren't very good. In large part, they were bad. A lot of them had problems, and a lot of them just didn't hold up to the thing they were trying to copy.
Which was WoW. Which, honestly, has earned its little, abbreviation, WoW. Because it is one of the longest-running, most successful MMOs of all time.
Just past 10 years now.
Yes. And even WoW was kind of facing a little bit of a rut. Some of the most recent expansions weren't really pleasing fans. Their numbers were starting to drop. However, with their most recent expansion, the something of Draenor?
Warlords
of Draenor.
You almost had it.
Yeah, I was close. I was so close. Some spike in, I don't know what our camera's doing. Like, it keeps jumping all kinds.
Ignore it.
Yeah, I'm trying. But anyway.
With the release of that expansion pack, fans flocked back to World of Warcraft.
Indeed, they did.
And it seems like Blizzard has kind of got WoW back on track.
They've definitely redeemed it a decent bit. They got a lot of people, including myself, back, at least for a period of time. I have since stopped playing. After I played the original raid content, I kind of fell off. One thing they wanted to try to do again was repopulate their world. And then they succeeded in populating it even less. Because now everybody sits in their own little home base and just sits there all day until it's time to go do something with your raid. So...
yeah, I remember seeing something about a character that reached level 90 without ever leaving its like area or something like that. I don't know. We don't do I don't do research for my own show, but there's a I remember seeing something about a character in World of Warcraft that was able to use the new expansion pack to reach a character or to get a character to level 90.
That somebody did that because
no lifers.
Yeah.
And tryhards and all that fun stuff that you hear from this stuff.
To the point of others not working, I mean, a lot of them are trying to play off of the fact that you liked their other games. You liked our other games, so play this MMO based on our other games. Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy, decent little run at an MMO.
Yeah, 11 was better than 14.
Glitches just abound. Huge problem with the games, unbeatable bosses, and huge issues with balance.
Yes.
Because there was none.
There wasn't. And of course, the 14 that is currently active right now is not the original 14 that tried several years ago to launch, because that was an absolute broken mess, just a piece of shit that tried to do what World of Warcraft did, didn't understand how they did it, and it just fell flat on their face. And then they did this whole 2.0 thing, Realm Reborn is what they eventually called it, and it's seen some life, but it's still, I've attempted playing stuff like, Knights of the Old Republic.
Knights of the Old Republic was probably the only other MMO I found myself even really hitting the end game in.
Yeah.
I think it's partially because I love Star Wars, and if you put something with Star Wars out there, especially putting the Knights of the Old Republic tag on it, I mean, you're guaranteed to lure me in, at least for a while. Yes. And so I gave it a solid shot. The story writing was great. Characters were fun.
BioWare does a pretty good job.
Very BioWare stuff. You got to the rating stuff, and you kind of face the same problems you do with other games, which is bland content and buggy and dysfunctional stuff. Some content's too easy, and some content is stupid hard to the point where sometimes you literally can't complete it. I don't remember that exact problem, except for aside from glitches in Star Wars, but the same problem kind of stands where you reach the end game and a lot of players start kind of just peeling off.
And one thing that I've kind of started to notice, I mean, with Star Wars, Arc Age is another MMO that I tried playing, and it's just like, this is just like all the other MMOs out there. There's nothing really different. But one thing I've really noticed over the past couple of years, and I'm sure everyone out there has also noticed, that an MMO launches, they try to compete with WoW, they realize, hey, we can't, and then they switch to free-to-play.
Free-to-play.
And so many MMOs are switching to this platform, and I mean, it's helping build up their player bases and all that kind of stuff, but they're all so much alike. I just can't get into them. I've tried. I've given up on trying to play MMOs. But
I personally have spent way too much time in WoW, and have really searched for an option. I've searched for it in Rift. Didn't really.
Rift.
Wasn't a huge fan of Rift.
What about Guild Wars?
Guild Wars 1, I spent very little time in, to no time in, because I only spent time in it a little bit pre-Guild Wars 2, and so I kind of figured, why waste my time here? Bought Guild Wars 2, played it for a little while, got really bored and left. It's part of the thing where I think the limit on abilities keeps the game casual and really good for people who want to play casually, which there is a good amount of people for. But other people who really want to be able to stretch the limits of their character, I feel like are going to be a little disappointed with something like Guild Wars. So it has its niche, and I believe that it's a good game, and it has a lot of potential, but it's not for me. I think Guild Wars 2 is probably the only thing that can even step pace behind WoW. There's also the fact that it was a pay game. It's a regular game. You pay for it, and you have a subscription forever.
Yeah, you just buy the game once, and you're good.
There's some freemium parts to it where you can buy currency, if I remember correctly. Haven't played in a while, but that was pretty cool. That was one big draw I had to it. I think if a lot of MMOs went that direction, where you buy the game and then your subscription is free, I think they could see a lot more extended player time.
Which, it was recently reported that the Elder Scrolls Online is doing something similar. Now, if you purchase the game outright, you have an unlimited subscription, which might be something that could, do a lot to help that catastrophe do something. Because out of all of the franchises, I mean, Star Wars is a great universe to try to compete with WoW. So much content.
Are you going to say that Elder Scrolls is like better than the War of Stars? Do I have to leave the video?
No, because the thing is, Star Wars and the Elder Scrolls are both wonderful places of content that I felt was going to be able to compete with what World of Warcraft could do. Rich characters, wonderful worlds to explore, and just a great backstory from both of those. And yet, they both have so far failed to be able to compete with what World of Warcraft has done. And I don't really know what the last major franchise that I can think of that could potentially do something to compete with WoW would be something like Mass Effect, which is supposedly getting an MMO.
Yep, it's been put out there that there is a Mass Effect MMO on the way. I know that they announced that their newest game will have multiplayer.
Yes, Mass Effect 4.
That I think is going to be completely separate from the storyline, or at least I would hope it's separate from the storyline.
I hope so as well.
I think they're just trying to expand on what they kind of did in 3 with a little bit of multiplayer.
Which was good.
It was
Multiplayer
okay.
with 3 was good.
It was limited, very limited,
yeah.
but it had some fun. It had some novelty to it, and you could have a little bit of fun in it before being done. So that was cool. It was cool that it also affected your single-player campaign a little bit too. That was kind of neat.
Kind of how
and
good
it
of
wasn't,
an ending you would
and
get.
it wasn't very stressful of a multiplayer.
It was cooperative.
It was cooperative, basically wave defense, but that doesn't really fall into the MMO category, and I don't think that's what they're doing with 4 either. I think they have a separate game on the way that is going to be a full MMO, and me personally, I'm kind of worried about it.
Yeah, this is another chance for BioWare to make a good MMO. I mean, they're the ones that did Star Wars: the Knights of the Old Republic. Those
Star Wars: The Old Republic.
The Old Republic. Yeah, there's okay. Yeah, so it is another shot for BioWare to be able to do that. But another thing that we wanted to kind of talk about was kind of the removal of a big company, a big name within kind of this MMO realm. Sony selling Sony Online Entertainment. And what this means for stuff like PlanetSide 2, EverQuest Next, DC Universe Online, stuff like that. Now,
dead games. That's what this kind of thing usually turns things into, is dead games.
If they do come out, they're not going to have the push behind them. They're not going to have the support behind them. They're not going to have the player base behind them. I mean, you have a big company like Sony saying, well, we need to trim the fat, and you're one of those that we just don't feel is going to be able to make us profitable.
Which is saying a lot about the MMO genre, that Sony is basically willing to just sell off all their MMOs.
Like EverQuest. EverQuest might not have done much in the last, 5 to 10 years, but it
had its time.
It is one of those grandfathers that you could potentially resurrect with a great game. Who knows what was happening with EverQuest Next? Obviously, it was not promising enough for Sony to be like, we want to hold on to this. So they decided, well, we're just going to close the studio, sell it off to a venture capitalist, and now the company is Daybreak Game Studios, which, having break in your name just does not make me very confident.
Doesn't bode well.
You went from Sony Online Entertainment to Daybreak Game Studios. It also doesn't really roll off the tongue very well. So, but
we'll see where those things go, and hopefully they can produce something that's really awesome. EverQuest is one of those grandfathers of MMOs that could really, really pull in some people if
with
EverQuest
a good quality
Next is what people want it to be. Certainly there's that.
It just has to do what South Park did. Just not give up, just keep pushing through and make an excellent game despite the fact that you are just doomed to not have a good game, but then wind up having a good game. It's rare. It is super, super rare. And I'm not talking about the company that Microsoft has ran into the ground.
So basically, I think we can say that our opinion of MMOs, from the perspective of someone who's played a lot of them, and from the perspective of someone who hasn't been able to get into them, we both think that it's a dying breed.
Yeah. World of Warcraft is probably going to remain just a completely unchallenged.
It's going to hang around. It's hard. It's hard to kill something so big.
And I mean, companies have tried with Star Wars, with the Elder Scrolls, Sony trying to bring back EverQuest, and then deciding, hey, this just isn't working. It's just one of those. World of Warcraft will forever reign supreme over MMOs until the day that the genre officially dies.
Assuming it does, I think that there is a true future in gaming for MMOs. But
they just need to innovate and do something different.
Only one company has figured out the formula, and that's Blizzard.
And they've managed, well, and of course you got Activision Blizzard. You've got the largest publishing company in gaming. So maybe that's all you have to do. Maybe that's the formula. Just have a lot of money and just
throw money at it.
Yeah. So
just
Microsoft,
keep throwing money.
Microsoft, make a Halo MMO. No.
Throw money. Just money. More money.
No.
More money.
Don't turn Halo into an don't turn Halo into an MMO. You've already done enough to ruin that franchise.
Okay.
But we'll talk about this at another time.
Different
anyway,
topic for a different topic.
Yeah. Oh, is that your new? Is that your new send off? Anyway, I am Tridrachius,
And I'm Mark Bagels.
and this was episode 84 of Just One More Topic. See you all next week.